for the Burning River Sportscast. Commandos 34, Browns 13. We'll break it all down for you, well, right now. Welcome into a very special Game Day Live edition of the Burning River Sportscast, presented by the fine folks at Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder. Joining me today is Elon Musk's favorite love child, Red Hot Ronnie Jams. And the Bowman is back today, fresh off his family vacay. Gentlemen, happy to have you on this swell Sunday evening. But back to Red Hot. Where can our listeners find the dopest dope they ever heard on a podcast? The number one rated football podcast and all of good pods, as well as the unofficial podcast of Cleveland Browns backers everywhere.
You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. I'm talking Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, iHeart Music, iHeart Radio, Pocket Cast, Castro, Good Pods, so many more. The Browns got me all messed up. I don't know how to talk. Look, I didn't even do the rest of it because I'm just so pissed off. I'll finish this real quick. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. The only place you can find our video podcast, and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle for all those socials is at Burning River Sportscast. And we are on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, as well, with the handle at Burning River Pod. And while you're at it, check out our merch, www.thetappanmedia.com/shop. Got all kinds of stuff in there. Got River gear, Chubb gear, Brook Park Browns gear, all that stuff. Real quick, Bone. How was the Jonas Brothers convention? Did you find one?
It was good.
It was good.
I snuck backstage, but they found me and kicked me out.
That's too bad.
Evans.
That's too bad. So I mean, listen, before we get started, I do have to shout out some sponsors real quick. Towpath Distillery. I'm wearing their shirt because I'm too embarrassed to wear a brown shirt right now.
Are you on a mic or are you on your laptop?
I'm on my laptop. Why are you asking me right now?
Because your mic is nowhere near your face and you sound kind of tinny.
Yeah, that's why I pushed it away.
All right.
But anyways, you can find Towpath Distillery at towpath-distillery.com. They have their core 4 spirits, along with quite a few other ones, available locally or online in 46 states. Or you can find an OHLQ retailer near you. Towpath Distillery, handcrafted, award-winning, small batch, local, and family-owned. And then True Fan Travel, they make away games, home games with all-inclusive travel packages. We're going with them to the New Orleans game in a few weeks here. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's I hope we got a completely different team by the time that game comes around.
Yeah,
because if it looks like this, I ain't having fun at all.
New Orleans will still be dope, though.
We'll still have
New
fun.
Orleans is gonna be dope, but the Browns, they ass. And so today on the show, this is what you can look forward to: a recap of the Browns game against the Commanders, our initial reactions, in case you aren't sure what those are going to be, how we're feeling about the Browns at this point, and I'm sure there's going to be so much more. So we're live. We're powering through things. It's about as bad as it gets, but I'm sure it's going to get worse. So let's get things started by reminding everybody to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. Don't forget to call and leave your hot takes on the hot take hotline. Remember, these are hot takes.
We want hot takes.
We want hot takes.
We do.
330-227-8080. 330-227-8080. We know you're all pissed off. We're pissed off. I can't even talk straight right now because I'm so pissed off.
I've never heard you not be able to talk at all before.
It's happening right now. Like, I'm flustered, man.
You sound like you just snorted a line with Johnny Manziel 8-ball.
Hey, the quote of the day today was when you quoted out that Johnny Manziel runs a tighter ship high on cocaine than DW4 does.
Seriously, did Johnny Manziel ever walk over the sideline after a turnover when we had a chance to score and go, I don't know how many players are supposed to be here. I don't know what the play is. I don't know what the down is. I'm just leaving.
Done, flustered. I'm out of here.
That sequence was the microcosm of the entire season. I don't know what's going on. We have too many people. I don't know the play call. No one knows what they're doing. I'm leaving. John just left the field of play, and Kevin's face was like, come on.
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
Listen, this is how I know that we're pissed. Like, we're 2 seconds in. We've just really kind of talked about us mostly and a little bit about how the Browns have been terrible so far. And we're already getting comments left and right. Kenny Mack out there, he's on our Facebook right now, and he said, remove Dorsey, install Stefanski, and start Winston. This is the definition of insanity right now, which is like 100%. Like that's where I was going with this whole thing, is like, why week after week after week after week we do the same exact things over and over and over and over again, and we expect a different result. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The Browns are ass. Right now, at least, the Browns are ass. John Dorsey's offense is ass, and Deshaun Watson is ass. Like, get him out of there. What are you doing?
It's really bad. Look, guys, it's not going to get any better. Two things that just immediately stick out is, I don't know if, we had some technical issues there trying to get this show started. On Football Night in America,
my mic's not even working because I'm so flustered.
Yeah. Basically, on Football Night in America, there was consensus amongst everybody on the panel that if this was any other quarterback besides Deshaun Watson and his contract, that he would be benched and they'd be looking for another answer. But because it's Deshaun, they're going to stick with him and keep rolling. The second thing is the press conference immediately following the game. Kevin Stefanski was asked point blank, "Are you considering a quarterback change?" And he said, "Nope, we're not going to change quarterbacks. I got to do a better job coaching." Guys, this is like we've all seen
Woods 2.0.
We've all seen Titanic, right? Well, there's a point in Titanic where the captain of the boat, Edward Smith, he makes his tea for the night and he goes to bed. Well, that fateful night when he went to sleep is when they hit the iceberg. This would be like, instead of making tea and going to bed, Edward Smith shot down 3 Red Bulls and said, "There's the iceberg. Let's get it." Like, that's not even considering. That's not considering a quarterback change. Like, we're not even going to think about it. Like, all camp long, all we heard when they had 4 quarterbacks on the roster is, we're going to do what's best for the football team. Every position is a competition. Why, once we get into the football season, when you're 1-4 and your offense hasn't eclipsed 300 yards one time, your quarterback hasn't eclipsed 200 yards one time, are we not even considering? We were like 1 of 14 on third downs today. And we're not even going to think about a quarterback change?
Last game, we only had a conversion on third down in the first drive, and we had, I think, 1 or 2 on the last drive. Those are the only 2 times we had third down conversions all of last week. So you fast forward this week, and we're 1 of 13, 1 of 14?
Yeah.
It's just awful. Like, and every week I just hear more and more, like, me and Bone, more than anybody, I think, and probably more so me than anybody, I tried to keep giving Deshaun the benefit of the doubt. Like, I was hoping it was going to come around, and I wanted to be he's my quarterback, I'm going to root for him, that guy. Look, he's ass. He's trash. Like, he's so done. I'm past that. I'm done with that. Like, you can't sit here and trot that out week in and week out and tell me that somehow that's a franchise quarterback. The dude, and I don't care what people say about the line or the drops or whatever, the dude today was 15 of 28 for 125 yards and a touchdown. We lost 34-13. He should have had 50 yards throwing, because he was throwing nonstop.
Yeah, trying to get back in the game.
Yeah, no, he didn't, and this was the game. Like, your get right game. Okay, we're out of it. Just go ahead, go out there, start slinging it, do your thing, and maybe you'll get some confidence going in the next game. Nobody has confidence in him. He doesn't have confidence in himself. Like, you can't do it because he's not good.
I think, Ronnie, you just hit on it. That's the biggest thing. Nobody has confidence in him. Think about all the other players on this team who put in all that work in the offseason. And I think it was day one they knew this guy wasn't the answer. And I feel like nobody's playing with him. It affects the special teams. It affects the defense. And our offense is complete ass, just like you guys have been saying. And I think it's hard to play for. And the dude has 0 redeeming qualities on the field or off the field. And I think that affects the entire organization's mindset. Every player on that team doesn't want to play for this dude. So I think nothing's going to change.
And on top of the on-the-field stuff and just body language and everything else on the field, I'm listening to the press conference after the game, and they kind of ask him, they're like, well, what should we do different locally? Well, we just got to figure out what we're good at, and we need to get better at that. That's not even an answer. Like, you're not good at anything. So what are you going to get? Like, and if you're going to sit there and tell me, like, we got to find what we're good at, get better. So we're just going to ignore all the things that we're terrible at. We're just going to somehow try and cover those up. Like, his just in press conferences, on the field, off the field, like everything. It's just bad. It's just like there's nothing about him that would make me, as a teammate, as anything, say, hey, I want to play for you.
Right.
This team had 212 yards of total offense today.
15 to 28 for 125 yards. And you lost 34-13. You were down 24-3 at halftime, and somehow you ended up with 125 yards passing, and you played the whole game. I could throw for 125 yards playing the whole game. Me.
I can't do it anymore. I don't know what else to say. I mean, man, the ride that we have been on right now and the bill of goods that we were sold to get to this point, and then to just outright just admit and say, like, well, don't get too excited, Browns fans. Nothing's going to change.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We're going to keep doing this. 1-4, that seems good enough for most of us. So we're going to keep going.
And I just don't understand why the coaching staff, everybody, they're just willing to let their whole, like, this implosion, everything that's going on right now from where we were to end last season. Like, I don't know if anybody else is fully grasping this, but this is like a full turnover type of thing. Like,
this is the end. That's why I compared it to the Titanic. This is the end.
Everybody's gone.
This is the end. Stefanski is laying his claim on Deshaun Watson and saying, he's our quarterback. I'm going down with the ship. And Barry's tied to that too. I mean, at this point, with this season, you have 13 games to go. You know what that 13 games is? That's auditions, friends. That's auditions for who's going to be here next year.
Exactly.
That's all. That's the point of the season that we're at. You're 1-4. You don't have a shot to make the postseason. Even if you were a good team that had bad luck and ended up 1-4, it'd be one thing to crawl out of that hole. This team's not good. This team's not going anywhere either way. This team is purely in. It's the most remarkable collapse that I've ever seen of any organization in 8 short months. They could go from a playoff team where a quarterback got off his couch and threw for 5 straight 300-yard passing games, and it looked like a top 5 offense in the NFL, to literally they had 212 yards of total offense today, and they're calling this this is an acceptable performance to some level. This is not a serious football team. Did you mute yourself, Ronnie? I can't hear you.
I didn't hear him either.
Ronnie, I think you muted yourself, buddy.
I will say this again that
you
brought up.
There? I think Kenny did it to me, and he's trying to play a trick on me right now because I'm fired up. He's like, I'm going to slow him down. Listen, no, I said the perfect example to drive home that point, Kenny, of us not being a real football team is the Cincinnati Bengals have the same record as us, and we couldn't be further from the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are a team that they started slow, they've had some bad luck, and now they're kind of on track. And they're starting to play well. They just happened to lose a close game to Baltimore today.
Yeah, they played competitive games the last 2 times out.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to make a run, and they're going to reel off quite a few in a row, probably a couple against the Browns.
I mean, Jesus, what did Joe Burrow throw for today? Almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he's at least a real quarterback.
It was more than 125 yards.
It was more than 125, yeah, way more.
Yeah, literally everybody threw for over 125 yards. You want to get into that? Let's talk about Joe Flacco. 339 yards and I don't even know, like, I'll be honest, I literally didn't check any of the scores. I don't know what Baker did. I don't know if they're on bye. I don't know what's going on. If they're on bye, he probably threw for more yards than Deshaun Watson did.
Yeah, Baker played great Thursday night.
Baker played great, threw for 3 touchdowns. Joe Flacco threw for 3 touchdowns. Snoop Huntley went down to Miami, just, again, signed off the street and won a game from Miami today. Like, every Browns quarterback, except for Deshaun Watson, is capable of being a player in this league. Deshaun isn't. He's done, and we're stuck with him.
And every player on the Browns team sees that. I don't see how anybody on that Browns roster can have faith in this organization. They're trapped with Deshaun. Absolutely trapped.
You're exactly right. I mean, these guys see them every day in practice. It's just like we talked about Bryce Young versus Andy Dalton, right, in practice, and you're like, everybody sees with their eyes, like that guy wasn't good enough to play. So you bring in a guy that looks like he can. They're watching this guy. They've watched him all during OTAs and minicamp and training camp now, and I think there was maybe some hopeful optimism that because he was coming off the injury, that maybe this wasn't full Deshaun. But like, guys, no one's saying, oh, Deshaun's shoulder hurts. Like this is supposed to be peak Deshaun right now. And if it's not peak Deshaun, get him out of the game. If he's injured, if he's not right from his shoulder surgery, then even more reason to get him out of the football game.
Yeah. And I'm just working through comments here, guys. So I want to touch on a couple of them. A good point here from Kenny Mack again. He said Baker and Flacco better with better O-line, still lost though. But listen, Kenny Mack, we could talk about the O-line and how they haven't been good this year. And I'm not going to claim that they've been good by any stretch of the imagination. However, they're no worse than what Joe Flacco was playing with last year. Yeah. And on top of that, we went over this past week on our show, Deshaun Watson has the 9th best time to throw in the league.
Yep.
He's getting time regardless of what you are thinking or whatever. But like,
and Baker's line was ranked 31st?
Right. So
in time to throw. Yeah.
I saw a comment on socials today. It was on a different page. And the guy said, well, Deshaun Watson's only getting 3 seconds to throw before he gets killed. And it was my favorite comment of the day. Somebody came back at him and said, you do realize the league average is 2.7 seconds.
Yeah, like any quarterback wishes they had 3 seconds.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. I understand the people that are trying to say the offensive line is bad. I'm not discounting that. The offensive line is bad.
Oh, I'm discounted because last year in front of Joe Flacco, you had James Hudson, Nick Harris, and some dude named Jerron Christian. Yeah. And he still threw for 300 yards and was able to win a football game.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then we got Barry Shuck was on here. He let you know, Kenny, that with 1:12 left in the game, the Browns got their first 3rd down conversion.
Yeah, so, there we go.
Yeah, good stat.
That's right. Yeah, this offense is anemic to the nth degree. I mean, it is an embarrassment to watch, and it felt like it feels like the defense was trying early, right? They made some plays here and there, but it's just you can't be 3 and out on offense every time and have the defense out on the field as often as they were. You're just gonna lose their effectiveness, and especially against a guy like Jaden Daniels. That guy is reading defenses right now at a high level. He's processing information quickly, and he's either finding the open man or he's taking off and making you pay with his feet. You don't have time to screw around with that. I mean, we talked about right before we went on the air about JOK, just arms flailing in the backfield, no breakdown, no nothing, just flying back there with no sense or rhyme or reason to why. And then you watch Jaden Daniels scamper for 40 yards. Like,
and we're not hating on JOK because we love JOK. He's one of the most consistent players on the Browns team. However, in that moment, he looked like the rest of the team. Like fundamentals are bad. It's easy things that should be easy to fix that everybody's getting wrong at the same time, and it's causing games like this.
And I got bad news for you guys. I mean,
it doesn't get better.
You go back to we like JOK. There's a lot of guys on this roster that we like. They're not going to survive the next 13 weeks. I mean, they'll survive the end of the season, but they're not going to survive going into next season, right? They're going to be taking serious looks at all these guys. It doesn't matter what your name is. What can your return be on Myles Garrett? What can your return be on Denzel Ward? What can your return be on a guy like JOK? Because this is going to be a full rebuild. I know Washington likes to call theirs a recalibration. Keep in mind, Washington's rebuild to get them to where they are right now is 33 new players on that team.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of guys that, we have to have hard conversations about because as much as we like them, you're 1-4. And if we're not going to pin it all on Deshaun and at least say, hey, maybe a backup quarterback can give this team a spark, can we try to run the offense as it's supposed to be? I mean, you're going to be lucky to win another game this season.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about the offense so far since we've been on, but the defense was just as bad. And I understand the whole, if the offense can't get things going, the defense can't play well. I get that. But the defense was bad right off the rips. They were bad from the beginning of the game.
I just, we'll go back to
they had one good series at the beginning, I think.
We talked to John Hughes this week, and he said we kind of asked him, how is it frustrating when the defense is on the field a lot and the offense continues to go 3 and out? And he said, "Hey, it's more TV time," and I was like, "Man, these boys are going to get a lot of TV time today."
Yeah, no, I agree, and I know there's some questions too here. Someone's asked Barry Shuck out there asking about David, why they went to David Njoku with a 14-yard completion to kind of start things off. Then he only had 2 thrown his way with no more catches. I get it, but I also probably chalked that up a little bit to, I don't know if he was affected at all. He has a high ankle sprain still, so it's I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing: Deshaun only completed 15 passes, so
that's true too.
Who knows?
Just go with that.
Who knows how many? I mean, like I said, if you were watching Football Night in America right beforehand, they went through 3 or 4 situations where Deshaun drops back and he's not looking downfield. He's looking at his rushers, and they're going, "You're in a clean pocket for 2-3 seconds. Why are you watching your linemen? You got to watch your receivers. I mean, you can't just keep expecting you're going to get pounded. You got to make a play. That's what you're there for."
Yeah, that's the whole reason they brought him in. And here's the thing: is actually the funny thing is, he said it's a 14-yard completion, right? That's more than 10% of his daily allotted yards. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's not much more to go around after that.
I mean, honestly, you look at the receiving numbers today. I mean, you got Amari with 4 catches for 60 yards. That's a workman-like NFL performance. Jordan Akins, 3 receptions for 22, and then Foreman, 1 catch for 16 yards. Judy, 1 catch for 16 yards, and Njoku, 1 catch for 14 yards. There you go. That's your 100 yards of passing, friends. Like, who knows how many plays that he was supposed to be the primary target in, or maybe he was a hot route in that just never got thrown, because Deshaun is just a shell of his former self.
So, Kenny, we talked about this in last week's show. In the past, we'll call it 9 months, basically since the end of last season, right? So a little bit more than 9 months. Since the end of last season, I went from being happy that Joe Flacco was throwing for 300 yards because I had been begging for a couple years now. Like, I just want a quarterback that can occasionally throw for 300 yards. To starting this season, and basically through the first 5 games, through the first 4 games, begging for my quarterback to throw for 200 yards. And now today, I was pretty scared he wasn't even going to get over 100 yards. It took every bit of that game to get him over 100 yards. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the sad part, is it was mostly in garbage time. I mean, we were out of it by halftime. So it was basically the whole game was garbage time, and he still only got to that 125 yards. And
yeah, I mean, this thing was a slow burn from the very beginning. It just felt like it didn't feel like at any point in this game that the Browns were going to make this competitive.
No, not at all.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And another one out there, another comment out there is that all this came after a players only meeting earlier in the week. Like, this is the performance we got, which is a good point, because I guess what I would say to that is, does that point to them quitting on Kevin Stefanski? Because it's like, this is what we got.
They can't quit on Deshaun because it doesn't matter. Deshaun's the guy. So we got to quit on somebody. I mean, look, players only meeting. Sure. We talked to John Hughes this week, and John Hughes said, when you get run on the way you do, especially as a defensive lineman, the way that the Raiders ran on you, you take that personal. You come in with a chip on your shoulder. Well, that chip on their shoulder gave them 215 more rushing yards today.
Yeah, they put
if you truly were that pissed off and you came in thinking we're going to get work done today, they did the opposite.
Yeah. There's a chip on their shoulder, and maybe DeJuan Jones ate it. I don't know.
Oh, God. Does it look like his torso gets bigger every week and his legs get smaller?
Look, I'm just saying the dude needs to get in football shape. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, it's just hard to. It gets harder, and I think we've gotten to the bottom. Like this is the hardest game, that it was going to be to watch all season long, and then we see another game, and I'm like, oh my God, like
even worse.
I think what's so frustrating though is like this team was in the playoffs 9 months ago. We've seen this team,
this exact team,
personnel group, be successful. We saw it with with DTR, with PJ Walker, with Joe Flacco. We saw it with a similar group with Baker Mayfield. I mean, look, this team, it shouldn't be as bad as they are, and I think that's what's so frustrating. Is it's like, you get into these conversations, oh, you're a Baker hater or you're a Baker bro, or it's like, no, like I remember winning. Like that's what I remember about Joe Flacco and Baker Mayfield. Like I remember being a team that wasn't just an automatic win on the opponent's calendar every week. Like that's what I'm not saying. Like let's just like can we go get Baker now? Like no, like obviously that's over and done with. But the point is that like he at least had the team competitive. Flacco had this team competitive. So like the answer is out there. The answer is out there. It's just not Deshaun. We've seen a bunch of other quarterbacks for whatever with this personnel group have success.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's move on from Deshaun because I just get riled up every single time, and that's what the Browns should do. They should move on from Deshaun. They should it should be Jameis time.
We're not even gonna think about it.
Yeah. Nope.
That's the response your coaching staff gives.
And I do want to talk a little bit more about the defense, Kenny, because your player to watch this week was actually Myles Garrett. And you said when the chips are down and things are going wrong, things are bad, you got to look to your leaders and they got to step up and make plays. You want to know what Myles Garrett did today?
I don't think he's on the box score.
No stats.
And
I
heard. I think twice.
He probably has a great pass win percentage or pass rush win percentage or whatever. But
yeah, sure.
That doesn't matter when you're playing like this.
No. I heard at least twice today, just from the commentators on a big offensive play for the Commanders that there goes so and so, and Myles Garrett is not on the field.
Yeah. His feet are hurting him.
Yeah, our leaders are letting us down all around the board. Defense, offense, coaching staff, everything. The guys that are supposed to be the leaders of this team can just consistently let us down.
Yeah. Well, and again, I just go back to that sequence where they had the turnover on their own side of the field, and they can't get personnel right, and they can't get a play call in. I mean, again, like
the easiest part of football.
Like Johnny 8-Ball at least had the sense to go, guys, I don't know what the play is, but we got to call something here because we're on the field. We're going to do something. We're going to do it. It might not work out, but let's do it.
I mean, that's what any normal football player would do.
And he turned around and he said, nope. He just left. Stefanski was like, no, we're going to go for it on fourth down. He said, I ain't going for it on fourth down, coach. See ya, deuces. What is that? Like, I can't believe that we're not having more of a discussion about that sequence of events because that was egregious. I don't know how else to explain. Like, that was the most just unprofessional display of anything I've ever seen on football. Like, I'll put that on the same level as like Antonio Brown and taking his clothes off and prancing through the end zone. Like, that's what that was to me. Sorry, coach. I ain't in on this play. You're the quarterback. What do you mean you're in on this play?
Yeah. I put that on Stefanski too. Like, how do you're going for it on fourth down and you guys have, you haven't practiced enough to where you have personnel swaps and like packages that are going in down
Agreed.
To a point where like, how many guys are going on the field. Like, that's on Stefanski too.
Well, that's what I said. You were talking about leaders letting us down. Yeah. Stefanski's 100% a part of that. Yeah. Yeah. When you don't have personnel groupings right, you got 12, 13 guys in the huddle and you can't get a play call in. You're the damn play caller. We've been saying for years you should hand play calling off to somebody else. I guess maybe we should be thankful he hasn't handed it off to Ken Dorsey because that appears to be the most, next to the Deshaun trade, the second worst move in NFL history.
Yeah, I think that's I don't even know what to say about that because again, that goes back to we go from Joe Flacco leading the offense and really even before Joe Flacco, not that the games were great, but I honestly at this point would take the PJ Walker and the
give me DTR.
The DTR from last year over what I'm getting from Deshaun this year.
Sure.
So at least
those guys were at least trying. Like it looks like Deshaun's just on autopilot out there, and the rest of the team is too.
Does his autopilot say to throw the ball into the ground or just random places multiple times a game?
I like the one where he chucked it into the tunnel past the end zone. Yeah.
Like, what is it?
Like, where are you throwing this ball?
No, so I mean, I don't know. I just kind of, guys, I'll be honest with you. I just want to wash my hands of this game and honestly this team at this point. But we're here for the long haul. We complain, but we're here for the long haul.
I mean, what do we do? We're 1-4. I mean, are we just going to start talking draft? Are we going to start talking Quinn Ewers? Like, what are we doing here?
Hey, I don't even think they can draft.
I don't think they can draft Quinn Ewers because they got Deshaun's contract. Clearly, they're beholden to that. We won't even make a move in the season to see if anything else works because of Deshaun and his contract. So we could be staring down the next Peyton Manning in the draft and go, "Oh, we got Deshaun for another 3 years, guys. You know, we're not just going to pick a new quarterback."
Yeah. What's it? How?
Beating a dead horse here anymore. He's terrible. Deshaun's awful.
He's so bad.
Get rid of him.
Like honestly, I wouldn't. That's the solution, right? Like I don't even just. Yeah, we're gonna be pretty effed up for a while, but just do it. Just get rid of it.
Well, the solution is let's see what else you hit. Put Jameis in and see if it changes the offense at all. You got Deshaun under contract. You can always go back. You can go back later this year. You can go back next year. You can go back the year after. He's not going anywhere. You can always go back.
That's true. Well, I mean, they keep saying they're like building this team kind of around that contract and use it like, you know, they understand the contract's there. So they continue to build the team with that in place. I guess you're right. I mean, what's the difference between building it with him as the starter and building it with him on the bench?
Yeah, just say, hey, you see this spot over here on this wooden thing? That's going to be where you play for the next couple months because you're not doing it on the field.
Go get me a juice box.
Go get me a juice box.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, he's lost 3 fumbles in the last 3 games, too. It's like he's just, by every account, like he's just not taking care of the football, not making good decisions.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, I knew that we were going to talk to Deshaun Watson. I didn't know this was just going to be like this. I think this is the episode. Like, we finally just fully unleashed and we all hate Deshaun Watson and think that I mean, you've been there for a while, Kenny. I've been trying to hold on. I think Bone's been there a couple weeks now, but I think we're all there. It's time.
Before this season started, I had so much hope. I was just like, if he, as everybody probably did, our team looked great on paper. We're like, if Deshaun works out, like this could be a great year. And he clearly has not.
I guess the only silver lining is at least it only took 5 weeks to figure it out if Kevin Stefanski would just make a change.
Yeah. The thing is, it shouldn't have taken that long. We've been watching it all season long, and it wasn't this. Today's performance is not unlike last week's performance. Is not unlike last week's performance. Is not unlike last week's performance. Is not unlike the one before that. So, how many times you got to be beaten the head with a stick before you go, "Ow! Stop hitting me with that stick."
I'm gonna bench that stick.
And I just miss winning, you know, and it's like I'm hate having these conversations with fans that are like, oh, well, you just like Baker, and you just don't want to root for Deshaun. Look, I wish Deshaun were good. The fact is that he's not, and you're not winning games because of him. Yeah. That's what I miss the most. It's not Flacco, it's not Mayfield. I don't care about their names on the backs of the jersey. I remember winning. I remember feeling good about my football team. I remember having fun. I remember enjoying a Sunday afternoon. Instead, I walk in every Sunday and I go, how many are we going to lose by?
Have you seen the famous, I forget what TV show it is, but the famous video, the quote from Jeff Daniels from the political show that he's on. And they ask him, like, why is America the greatest country in the world? Yeah. He's like, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this is right here. The Browns are not a good football team.
No.
Like, no matter what it shows on paper, what's going on, what's happening, who they have, if they have Myles Garrett, if they have JOK, if they have Nick Chubb coming back, right now, doesn't matter. This is not a good football team.
And you see the trickle-down effect because you see guys like Zell, I don't think, finished the game. I don't think Delpit finished the game. Sometimes in football you get hit and it hurts. But when things are going really, really poorly, they hurt a little more. It's like, why am I busting my ass out here for this quarterback that's taking us nowhere? Yeah, my leg hurts. I think I'm done for the day, coach. Like, again, I'm not trying to accuse anybody of being soft. I just think that like the trickle down is that just guys get disinterested, and I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't blame them to be like, why am I putting my body on the line for an organization? It's not even just a shot. It's an organization that doesn't care about winning. When you sit there after a game like that, after your team again went for 212 yards of total offense, and you say, we're not even going to consider a quarterback change.
No thoughts about that.
You're not interested in winning. You're interested in surviving the politics of today, which is I have a contract that's a monolith amongst contracts in the NFL, and a bad player that's tied to it, and I'm just gonna have to do the best I can with this shit sandwich for now.
Yeah, we love shit sandwiches in here in Cleveland. It's our favorite meal. Been eating it since 1999. Yeah. So guys, listen, this is the time of the show after we're done. Usually we have more of a discussion. Today it was more of a venting session than anything. This is typically the time in the show when we would nominate a dog of the week. So
yeah, no, I'm not nominating a dog. Like, this isn't a charity. Dog of the week was started because we were going to celebrate in a good performance, celebrate the stars of the game, and generally, by and large, each week we've found a way to find someone somewhere that had, despite all the odds stacked against them, like shined in a dark moment. This is as bad as it was, like 34-6. I mean, I know he scored again in garbage time, but let's be honest. Like, this was an absolute beatdown.
This game was so bad.
It was a surgical, just absolute, just destruction of your team.
This game, you mentioned it was basically 34-6. This game was so bad that I accidentally posted the wrong score at the end because I didn't watch the end of the game because it was that bad. And I posted 34-6. It was 34-13. I'm not afraid to admit that because if you watch that whole game, you're a lot stronger than I am.
I definitely was flipping back and forth between at least the Cincinnati and the Baltimore game because at least that had an exciting end.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I'm right there with you though, Kenny. Usually we can find a silver lining.
Can't.
I can't find lining. You lost 34-13, and it should have been 34-6. So,
yeah. So my nomination for this week for Dog of the Week is no one. If you guys want to play the game, I won't tell you not to, but I'm not. I'm nominating no one.
No,
I second that. I started making bread in the third quarter.
Bone just went away. He's like, I'm a homemaker now. It was over for him. He's like,
that's the best thing I heard all day.
What
kind of bread was it?
Bone said Rise is more entertaining than the Browns.
Yeah, but this was fresh milled. I have a flour mill, so I fresh milled some wheat berries and I made some rolls and one loaf.
So it was a bread like wheat bread.
Yeah, it's like full grain. Yeah.
Nice.
Everything.
You pay a lot of money for that at the store.
Oh yeah. I paid a lot of money for this flour mill.
Yeah. You shouldn't be paying a lot of money at the store. You should be paying a lot of money for Bone. He's just.
I pay a lot of money for Bone.
Yeah. I'm amazed right now, Bone. I'm almost speechless. I'm like, man, you're just out here doing it to him with the bread.
Yeah, I'm a miller, through and through.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I don't know. Guys, did you have any final thoughts on this week? Maybe not Brown. It could be Browns related, but it doesn't have to be Browns related.
Yeah.
We'll start with you.
My final thought is this. I think you watch that team today in the Commanders and you go, if there is a silver lining, this is silver lining. You can take a retread of a head coach. It doesn't matter who. Dan Quinn is not the next coming of Jesus Christ. He's just a guy. He's just a guy that can coach football above average. That's my silver lining is like when this thing goes to shit over the next 13 weeks, that we can find our retread Dan Quinn are just a guy who can bring in 30 new players. Again, not a bunch of studs, just guys that care about football. And instead of being 1-4, your team could be 4-1, like this Commanders team.
Yep.
That's my is the hope that we can get this right once we clean house and get all these clowns out of here. I'm done with this. You can't look me in the face today and look and try to defend the Baker Mayfield move at this point and go, we couldn't win with Baker. If you couldn't win with Baker, what are we saying? How do you describe? How would you characterize what we can do with Deshaun Watson?
Yeah,
you certainly can't win with him. These guys all got to go. And you start over, and hopefully we can find just a guy, and hopefully that just a guy can bring in a bunch of just a guys that actually care, want to play football, and want to win. And if they get the quarterback decision right, which like they have in Washington, it looks to be, you got a shot at this thing next year. But this year's over.
Yeah. Bone, final thoughts?
I don't know.
It could be
unfortunately, we're still stuck with this contract. And until the organization comes out and says we made the biggest mistake in NFL history and they cut him, you're stuck with them. And they're not going to do that. I don't know who's covered for who. I don't know if it was, the owner who signed. I mean, he had to have signed off on it, obviously, to bring him in. But somebody has to go out there and say, we effed up really, really big. This guy has no mental capacity to play football anymore. He's gone. Sorry, that's my final thought.
No, you're good. I mean, and I agree with that. Again, I said we're all finally there. Like I think I probably held out the longest, and I just can't do it anymore because you can't defend this. You can't. All of Kenny's arguments about Baker, all of your arguments about it'd be better to cut, like everything. It just I can't defend him even in the slightest. And it's just difficult to watch week in and week out. And I guess my final thought would be that, again, I talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but I just want to drive home the fact that there's other teams in the league that are 1-4. The Browns are the worst team in the league. They're the worst team in the league. And again, I go back to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's also 1-4. Cincinnati would beat us by 40 today. Like, it wouldn't even be close. And yeah, I think the biggest statement that you could make, probably the two biggest statements that you could make, is if they go back to the locker room this week and they say, again, to your point, Bone, whether it's cutting him or benching him, Deshaun, you're done. And they say, Dorsey, you're fired. If those two things don't happen this week, next week we're going to see the exact same thing that we saw this week.
It's got to be at least one, right? If let's say they're tied to that Deshaun contract, you have to at least make a public example out of Ken Dorsey. You can't keep going. Yeah. This is the offense that is better for this team. No, just go back to the one you were running. Go back to last year. The one that you piecemealed together with 5 different quarterbacks. The one that Jeff Driscoll looked okay in. Let's play that one.
Is Jeff Driscoll available?
Probably somewhere. I think he's on a roster. We could probably trade for him. Yeah.
I don't know. But with that, let me remind everybody to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
Hot Take Hotline.
Again, call us. Leave a voicemail on the Hot Take Hotline. We want to put it on the show. We want to talk about it. Everybody's pissed off. If you're not pissed off, you're not a Browns fan. If you're still sitting here saying, I'll support this team no matter what, no matter how shitty they get, then you're not a true fan in my eyes, because that means that you're just okay with the Browns being the laughingstock of the league for the rest of history. So
I thought we got out of it. I thought we were done with it.
Yeah, me too. So call the Hot Take Hotline, 330-227-8080. Call us, leave that voicemail. Operators aren't standing by, but we'll put it on the air. Be sure to check out our merch, www.thetapinmedia.com/shop. And that'll do it for us. Kenny, what can we expect this week?
Well, obviously this was our instant reaction to the show, so enjoy it. And
can't take it back now.
We'll have our normal show coming out on Thursday, where we will preview Week 6 against our friends in Philadelphia. Philadelphia Eagles, we will have a Browns backers interview with the Philadelphia Browns backers, as well as bringing in a friend of the show and offensive correspondent John Greco to see if we can sort out what the hell is going on with this offense. See if he can find any other issues with it besides Deshaun's play.
Well, and particularly, obviously, with him being an offensive lineman, if he has any insight into that portion of it. I just feel bad for John Greco.
He's getting us at the worst time.
Like, yeah, he's literally like, this is the worst time to be on the show. This is the worst time because everybody's just angry all over the place. And John Greco's going to try, but he's not going to be able to explain it. He's going to be nice and he'll try, but
I like this idea, Mike Vrabel ASAP. That came in the chat just now.
Ooh,
yeah. Whoever said that, yes.
He could be my Jag. He could be my just a guy.
He's better than just a guy. So.
Coach of the year.
But yeah, make sure you guys are all checking us out on social media. Tappin Media is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Tappin Media. And Burning River Sportscast, that is this podcast, is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast, and on X at Burning River Pod. And you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, Good Pods, and so many more. Bone, send us off, bro.
Hey, good night. Bon appetit.
And don't be a part of the problem. Be the whole damn problem.
And only you can prevent river fires. Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River Sportscast.
Good night, Cleveland.
River.
Steelers getting rained out.
Yeah, what's going on there? Nothing, huh?
Nothing.
Looks
I
bad.
just wants to start a new segment.
Yeah.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night, Cleveland.
Good night,